Arnold Ebiketie, you're a Philadelphia Eagle. So he landed last night. We will break that down with you here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all you guys being here and for all the support this week and really all year long. J-Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, my friend?
Doing well. Yeah, it's a player the Eagles have long had interest in. Typical Howie Roseman signing. Young guy, upside that maybe hasn't been reached. Definitely hasn't been reached, and they think he still has, as Howie would say, talent in his body. And he's here, but for those who think this is the move on the edge, I don't agree with that. This doesn't preclude them, and they should be looking for, a centerpiece for that edge rush. But it's a little bit of a higher level deal than Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, people like that from last season. So upgrade there. If this is your fourth edge rusher, it's pretty good. Problem is you need number one, right, and everything falls into place. And former Temple kid, played at Temple before he finished up at Penn State his final year. So he played most of his college career on North Broad Street. So now head to South Broad Street. Also, he's from Cameroon, same town as Joel Embiid. How weird is that?
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that about what is it, John? How do you pronounce the name? Ebiketie?
Ebiketie.
Arnold Ebiketie has landed in Philly. That's interesting. Same town as Joel Embiid. Pretty cool.
Yeah. They've never met though, evidently. So that's hopefully they do at some point. But I like him. I've always liked him. I talked about him a lot last year.
Yeah.
When the Eagles were looking for edge rushing help as somebody who maybe has an upside but hasn't reached it yet. On the other hand, I mean, there were plenty of opportunities in Atlanta, and you have to question what went on there because they drafted two edge rushers this year. That knucklehead who's in deep, deep, deep trouble, James Pierce, and who was the other one?
The Jalen Walker, I believe it was from Georgia, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they sort of carpet bombed the edge because they weren't happy with what was going on. So
they also had another vet there last year, didn't they? Was it Leonard Floyd? I think they had Leonard Floyd in Atlanta.
Yeah, their pass rush was pretty good last year.
Yeah, they had a pretty extensive.
Yeah, because Pierce, and they're not going to get that back, unfortunately. He was pretty good, and they got better, but it wasn't necessarily Ebiketie getting better. I think he had 2 sacks last year. He had 6.5, prior. So, never reached that ceiling. Very high second round pick. He was a second round pick. I think he was 38th. So very high second round pick. Tremendous athlete. Very similar to Tariq Bullen from an athletic standpoint, big time athlete. And that's what Howie likes. Doesn't have quite the production, quite the history, but that's who he likes to go after, guys with upside. And I still think he has upside, certainly be a sub-package pass rusher. That's what I think will be here. So I like this signing. I think it's a pretty good signing, unless you got people thinking this is the guy that's going to make a difference, that, is going to be Jalen Phillips, or he's going to be, the Eagles tried to get in the Trey Hendrickson thing. They tried to trade for Jonathan Greenard. We'll see if they can do that. He's not going to be that guy.
And you don't, like you said, you don't think this move will stop them from making that move? Yeah, I agree.
No.
I think that's going to be a big question among the fan base, though. Like, okay, good signing, but are we now out on Greenard? Are we not going to go for the big name again? Okay.
No. This is like sort of New England signing Romeo Dobbs and saying they're out of the A.J. Brown race.
Right.
And not Romeo's probably a little bit more accomplished.
Yeah, a little higher, right.
Yeah, but you get my point.
Well, John, I mean, if he's going to be your fourth, if they're able to land the one, and he's your fourth, I think it's a good move. I mean, that gives you 4.
That's damn good.
That's real good.
Really, who this probably impacts more is Brandon Graham, because if they get that, but Brandon proved he can move inside. They might keep him around because he's so versatile just to be a small player. But, say you trade for Greenard, and it's Greenard, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Arnold Ebiketie. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a pretty strong edge rushing group. Now they just got to land the one, which is the hardest one to land, Johnny Mac. So we will see what they do with Arnold Ebiketie. All right, he landed last night. John, what'd you make of the money? It was a 1 year, $7.3 million, I believe, with around $4.3 million guaranteed. So that's probably closer to what the real money is, probably $3 million or so of incentives in there. Pretty good, Johnny Mac. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, but that's, value signing with some upside. That's same thing with Woolen to a little bit of a higher degree,
Right.
Gets 12 million up to 15. Similar here, big time talent, who if things really, really work out, you might have a home run. You might have a guy who can be, I don't want to say, a number one, but a really good number two or number three, and that gives you optionality down the road, because you're probably going to have to make that decision at some point. Do you want to keep Nolan Smith? Do you want to keep Jalix Hunt? Maybe he makes that a little bit easier. And then it's the prove it aspect. I mean, he knows that he's got a chance to be on a good team, a good defense, a good defensive coordinator, good talent around him, and he can get right back to free agency next year and get a bigger deal.
Yeah, it's like Vic Fangio said. It feels like we're the farm system for the rest of the league. Did you hear that comment?
Yeah,
I mean, that was a classic comment from Vic Fangio. It almost sounded to me like a little bit of a subtle shot, not at Howie, but just like how many departures they've had on defense over the last.
I think he's tweaking his fellow defensive coordinators. That's what.
Yeah, well, maybe. So the Eagles have become the farm system. We will see. Ebiketie made a good move here, if that is the role, because you can see what people have done and coming here and then getting signed elsewhere. We will see what happens there. John, we'll get more into Arnold Ebiketie, but there were some other things that hit yesterday, Johnny Mac, that I want to get to here in the opening segment as well. That's not the only thing. The Landon Dickerson restructure came down. We did a little segment on that yesterday, so we'll get to that in a sec. They also re-signed their punter, Braden Mann, which we were calling for because he was obviously a very good punter last year. Pretty big deal for Braden Mann, so that landed. And then also the addition of Jonathan Jones, another veteran cornerback, signed to the roster. Let's start with Braden Mann, Johnny Mac. 4-year, $14 million deal, and stability at punter when he was really one of the few bright spots of the team, especially late in the year last year. Really a strong season for Braden Mann, and they lock him up for the next 4 years. Your response and your reaction to that signing?
It's the largest investment in a punter in the Howie Roseman era. So I think that's something to hold on to and say. And if you look at he's the longest tenured punter here since Donnie Jones. And if you look at, the two Super Bowl winning punters, Donnie Jones and Braden Mann, that's, maybe there's something to that, having some consistency instead of trying to piecemeal it together every couple of years and try to go a little bit cheap. And then the Eagles have always talked about how good of a holder he is. Nobody thinks about that until you start having issues with it. So just a really solid player who's done a phenomenal job. When he got here, that was in the wake of Aaron Cepas and the Super Bowl and the bad punt. And then he comes back. They give him one more chance, and he punted very poorly early in the 2023 season. And they brought in Braden Mann, and he was just lights out. He set the franchise record for punting, both gross punting average and net punting average. It's the first year he got here. And he broke the gross average last year. He's like 49.8, 48.8 to 49.9. I mean, this guy's been phenomenal. And the net has been, 43-ish, 42 has been tremendous as well. And obviously coverage comes into that, and all the great gunners the Eagles have had over the years. But, Yeah, nobody cares about punter, but you should, because you have a damn good one. And the Eagles obviously invested in him. A little bit surprised because, again, they don't typically do that. I thought maybe they would go cheap, and they didn't. And I think that's a good thing.